Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines, and most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is we only speak to transportation professionals on this show, as well as my twice a week long form podcast, because I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. It is Happy Monday. Let's go. What is up, my man? Good morning, Nick. Sonny Sharma, good morning, Orange Shirt Gang. Gang. Let's get it. Yeah, you guys, it's been it was an awesome weekend slash start to the week here this week. You know, we got some last minute shipments to end up on Friday. We got we got a couple of same day ones here moving today. And yeah, you know what? I'm really looking forward to this week in particular here. Corey Buchan on YouTube. Good morning, all. Tracy St. Clair, she's on YouTube as well. Good morning to you. Robert Cowton says, good morning. Gratitude correlates happiness. Happiness leads to motivation, which equals steps towards achieving your goals. Have a great week. Appreciate that, man. James Courier, good morning to you as well. John Paradise, good morning, Chris and team. Let's have a kick-ass week, he says. Yeah, you guys, it is. And for first and foremost, to everybody who shared that post on Friday regarding the Make-A-Wish Foundation in remembrance of my nephew, and everybody who was able to donate to that, thank you so much from the bottom of mine and my family's hearts. We raised like almost $3,000 just on Friday alone, and counting, right? So our goal at the end of the day, you guys, our goal is to raise $15,000 for the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Southern Nevada by April 27th, because that's when that walk is happening out there. I'm not gonna post it all up, every single day or anything like that. But if you're able to do that, or at least be able to share that post out there, it's just greatly appreciated. The Make-A-Wish Foundation is phenomenal, and my nephew was a recipient of it, and we're just looking to pay it forward and get that out there and raise as much money as we can for such an amazing cause. Let me see here. Mario Herrera, what is up? He says, what's up, Freight Couch? Freight, come on, bro. I'm going to go with that's a typo right there. He says, keep grinding from Salt Lake City. Speaking of keep grinding, it is a grind, right, you guys? And I was, obviously I assess everything in the freight market all the time, right? Like what's going on out there, and and the amount of work that it takes to get stuff up and running, right? And the amount of outreach that you have to put in, and you have to assess everything that you're doing, and always look, how can you improve? How can you increase it? And I always used to do like Mindset Monday stuff, and when I was creating little daily videos, and I didn't get a chance to put my morning post out this morning because I was covering freight, right, you guys? And that's why you guys tune in here, because I'm actually booking loads and cold calling and doing all of that stuff. And, on a rough estimate, just last year alone, on the amount of outreaches, because I try and hold myself to anywhere from 65 to like 80 outreaches every single day. So like on a rough estimate, we'll say that I hit 11 to 12,000 outreaches just last year in 2023 alone from a customer, prospecting perspective. And that doesn't count like, the site visits that I went on and the introductions that I got from people in my network and everything. But still, like that's what it took to really get out and start building our business up. And that's the level of commitment that you need to make to building your business, right? Like, what are you going to do every single day to move the needle? And that needle isn't going to show a ton of growth in that time, because it's like you always got to look back and see, like, how much it's hard to quantify your efforts in the moment, right? It really is. When you're sitting there and you're looking at it, you're like, nothing's happening, nobody's onboarding anybody. I think that, is it challenging right now? Of course it's challenging, but it's always been challenging, at least for me, right? Like, it's always been challenging for me from a business development standpoint. But at the end of the day, I know that building a business and in sales and everything, it is truly a numbers game. You need to increase your output no matter what. If you're only, I mean, just think about that. Like, if you're only doing 35 in a day, like, you gotta increase that. In any way that you possibly can. You gotta look and see, because that's something that I'm working on doing right now, because I was at 65 a day, but 65 a day doesn't seem to be cutting it for me. So I gotta push that up. And I'm gonna be, working on my sales strategy throughout the year on, what's gonna work, because I'm always about going on site and visiting people. Whether it's it's somebody here in Phoenix, or where, we have another location up in Minnesota where my business partner lives. And and when I'm out on the road traveling to conferences and stuff, I try and tie all of that in, because I just want to meet people at the end of the day. Because I truly feel like, if you can afford to get out there from a financial perspective, invest in that. Because I truly think that in today's day and age, and again, like, I'm a big fan of technology, you guys. Like, I want to be abundantly clear, but like, a lot of people are removing that human to human interaction from the transaction. And it's always a people business, right? If you ask anybody, they're like, oh, transportation's a relationship business. Well, how can you start an effective relationship over a cold call or a cold email, right? Like, I just want to get out there and meet people, because frankly, at the end of the day, I want them to feel how much I care about their business. I want them to feel how much their business means to me in supporting and, feeding my family, and, and all of those things. And I think that there's no other better way to do it than to sit down with somebody, sit at a table across the conference, and have a cup of coffee with them, or have a quick lunch or something with them. I truly think you have to be willing to do what others aren't. And I don't think a lot of people are willing to I don't think, where people are willing to put in the effort to get out there and do what you need to do and separate yourself. So that's kind of my little mindset thing, is you always got to look where, you got to increase your output. You got to do what you got to do. And you always have to be looking, because it's going to take a lot longer than you think. No matter what, it's going to take a lot longer than you think, but it is so much more rewarding. All right, let's see. April Maroney, what is up? She said, make it happen. Flo, good morning to you. And let's see. Yeah, man, we're going to be getting that podcast up here soon. I'm looking forward to it. Flo says it's awful. It's become so impersonal and transactional. I get it, Flo, but I'm, call it arrogant, cocky, whatever. I'm confident in my abilities to change that. I really am. And I think that I always look at it as, how would, as a business owner, I get solicited, for a bunch of random crap. And I look at it as like, damn, if this is the low quality of outreach that they send to everybody, then I understand why shippers are the way that they are. Because I have some friends that are shippers, and I've seen some of the outreaches that they get, and I would hate me too. Right? Like, I would hate seeing anything logistics or transportation or any of that stuff in somebody's emails. Yes, V, we are talking about this. And we will. V, you got an open invite to come on the show, brother. We can talk about it live on the show. Robert says, how many follow-up attempts is it taking on average to get a chance to quote? It's completely dependent upon the prospect, in my opinion. I get some not interested right away. I get, some after like 10 outreaches, they'll reply. It's really circumstantial there, man. All right, let's talk about the market here a little bit, because we got some articles here that we're going to break down. And from there, I want to talk about the market a little bit. I want to, like no matter what, first quarter is always slow. Okay. I want to be like throughout my entire career. All right. I've been in this as a freight broker. I've been a freight broker for 13 years. Every first quarter has sucked from a volume perspective, from an opportunities perspective, from a business development perspective. It's always slow, no matter what. And because it's like, I see a lot of information out there, like where are things heading? What's going on here? What's going on there? And everything else under the sun. And I think a lot of what we are experiencing is normal right now because it's like it's always slow out there. And I had a friend who sent this over to me. Demand for trucks are down right now. Contract carriers are accepting a higher percentage of tender loads because that's naturally what happens, right? Like very few opportunities end up out in the spot market because everybody's accepting their contracted rates in Q1 because they can. And that's honestly how a lot of people bid on their freight, right? They go in super cheap with the anticipation, especially in the year of a market shift. All right. And this is all speculation. And what I used to do when I was filling out a lot of RFPs is you go in and you bid cheap to try and get the volume. And then you anticipate that you're going to have maybe reject some of it. And then everyone's going to reject it. And then it's going to go at the spot market. And then you start bidding out on the spot market. And then eventually your hope is that customers will trigger a rebid at that time because like the tender rejections are super high and everything else. And I've told you guys this as the year progresses, watch out for that because there is going to be a lot of talk about how tender rejections are looking later this year because it's just my anticipation that people are going to talk about it because everyone's going to start rejecting tenders as volumes and everything start to pick up and stuff. As things start to change out there and capacity starts to tighten up and everything else, you guys, tender rejections are going to spike. And that's what a lot of large providers want because they bid low, they do it while they can, then they start rejecting it, then it goes to spot market, they'll bid, they'll get a higher rate, and then they hope that the customers trigger a rebid at some point this year. And that's what I'm saying is from a business development standpoint, you guys, this is why you keep prospecting and selling because in the event that a customer opens it up for a rebid at some point this year, my speculation in this is, this is just what I've seen in my career. They'll kick a couple of those original people out, and then they open the door for a couple of new providers to come in and bid on that. And again, you got to ask yourself, who are they going to reach out to? Who are they going to allow to come in and bid on that freight? Is it going to be the individual who's been prospecting them effectively for the last 15 months? Telling them, hey, reach out to us every couple of months? Or is it going to be the person who just emailed them one time because they just realized, holy shit, my book of business is nowhere where I wanted it to be. And because it's been easy. And now that things are tightening up out there, I don't know what I'm going to do. And, because again, that's just naturally how it goes, you guys. And because it's like, if you look out there, load postings are down, capacity, load to truck ratios are down and everything else. It looks dismal if you're looking at some of the data that's out there. But, if you're looking for a silver lining at all, and again, I'm not saying this in one way or another, things change. All right. Q1 historically is bad for freight volumes and it's really good for tender acceptance because most people are honoring those bids that they put in there. All right. Anyways, you guys, let's get down to some articles here. I want to talk some more trash. We're going to lead into this. Freight Sensei, what is up, my guy? Good to see you, man. Vitaly says timing is a factor, but familiarity helps. See, that's why I want to build familiarity by going on site, man. They can't say no to this face. Let's be honest. Only my wife says no to this face. Flow. Yeah, I didn't think you were Flow, but I appreciate it. Let me see here. First article that we are going to talk about here is fleetowner.com. And this is kind of why I led into it, because the headline of this says February freight markets mixes slow demand with unusual variables. The truckload market is slow even for February, says according to DAT. analysts who cited slipping demand as fleets continue to reduce capacity. The first quarter is always a quiet season, said Dean Croak with DAT. We've been saying for 6 months, is this season quieter than most first quarters? And it's certainly panning out that way. DAT spot truckload data for the weeks of February 11th through the 17th was based on data in DAT1, found another cold week for the spot market. Declines across the board. Declines in load to truck posts hit across all equipment types, van, reefer, and flatbed, both week over week and year over year. And truck posts fell to 328,000, which was down 7.5%. And then it says, why is the freight market so cold? There are countless market disruptions in 2024. The slowing freight market generally and the spot market specifically is due to issues ranging from regular seasonal dips in retention practices to inflation, interest rates, and after effects. I don't think that there's any of that going on, so I'm not even going to mention it. I have no idea what's driving this market, because our economic textbook is out the window, said Croak. Things that you would normally think would drive the market aren't. Other things are that are still in the market are impacting is other ways that you would normally expect. There's just so many mixed signals in the market. Then it says, why are load posts dropping? And then overall truckload demand is down. I'd say that the total freight pie, it has shrunk out there. The total number of tons being moved, speaking very broadly, is a little bit higher than we were in January of 2018 and a little bit higher again in 2019. So the market has reverted back to 2018 and 2019 levels. And then it goes on to say, why are truck posts dropping? And then talking about, a driver shortage and everything else. And then you get to start of 2023 and things started to turn, with rates continuing to drop, caused partially by low demand and low load to truck ratio. Profitability is becoming more complex. Carriers are continuing to decrease their capacity either through layoffs or by leaving the market entirely. And then it goes, how will the market adjust? And then it says, if rates continue to drop at their current rate, Croak said that it may lead to a quick drop in capacity and a sharp correction in rates. Those who are left standing, they said, are the ones that have been through a few freight market cycles, who know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, who have really good handle on their operating costs, more so than the recent entrants who have exited the market. I think that, again, there's a lot of good information in here, right? I think that, yes, I think what explains some of the, you could call it the unusual variables, is we are literally going off of a soft market for probably since 2021, I'll call it. And I'm not saying that rates weren't up and everything else out there, but it has been very easy to cover freight since 2020, late 2020, early 2021. It's just for a period there, it was just the essentially the Progressive Insurance name your price tool, where customers just paid whatever to get their freight. And then that kind of relayed into the market that we had in late 2022 and all of 2023, where capacity was very, very loose and freight volumes were down, but capacity was still up. It was fairly easy to start to cover freight in that time. And I think what's unusual right now is I truly think the most unusual thing is the amount of where in my opinion, the market has already started to shift. And I say that based on the freight that I actually move. And that is the fact that, and I've mentioned this already, so I might sound like a broken record to some, but I think it's very important to bring it up. Negotiations on some of the lanes that I am moving have stopped. Okay. For example, if I had been paying $1,000 on it and I'd been getting quoted $1,200 and I said, no, it pays $1,000, carriers would take the load. Now it's moving at $1,200 and there is no negotiation. There is no, let's hold out for a cheap. None of that's happening. That's just where it is on some of the lanes that I'm moving out there. So I think that when the negotiations have stopped, that is when the market has officially started to turn. I think that's what is unusual about Q1 is normally there isn't a lot of pushback at all. Normally Q1 is pretty soft, but I think that most of the people that have gutted it out to this far are like starting to put their foot down on some of the lanes that they're moving. But that article was from fleetowner.com. February freight market mixes slow demand with unusual variables. And as always, you guys have put all the links to the articles up on the Freight Coach YouTube channel, as well as the Coffee with the Freight Coach audio only replay, which will be up on iTunes and Spotify almost immediately after the show. And then when you guys hear about the freight that I'm winning and moving out there, my friends over at Green Screens, that's literally who I use to bid on every single load that I move. And every single load that I quote out there is through Green Screens. All right. Just throwing that out there, you guys. Hit them up. They have the most accurate real-time data that's out there. I can't be convinced otherwise. Carla Isted, what is up? Good morning. She's coming in over on LinkedIn. Robert says, if I'm a shipper who put out an RFP, I would have a fee if either a broker or a carrier rejects a tender. You'd be pretty harsh there, Robert. If I'm going to go into an RFP knowing you'd have to pay a shipper, everyone will bid smarter. I mean, I agree with that, man. I don't know how that works, though. I honestly don't. I don't know how that works long term. There's so many different variables that go into it because it's like I see all the time. Some brokers are like, oh, why don't we charge carriers truck order not used if they fall off? Good luck. I guess that's my natural response out there is good luck in those instances. There's just so much stuff that goes on out there that's out of our control. And again, I just can't stress this enough. Control your controllables. Here we go. TTNews.com. Next article. Recruiting leaders say demand for truck drivers is still strong. Most companies attending the recruitment and retention conference say they have held onto their human resources professionals as trucking industry recruiters endure the freight recession. Experts at the event, sponsored by Conversion Interactive Agency, say they are maintaining this course of action. It's been an interesting year and a real roller coaster, says Steve Sichterman, Conversion's VP of Client Services. We're seeing a lot less demand for drivers, but we're seeing fleets hiring drivers at a pretty good pace, but they are still struggling in many markets to find drivers. And then the companies say that they decided to maintain recruiting staffing levels because of constant attrition in the industry. The biggest challenge in recruiting is understanding, including everyone in operations and other departments, that even though freight is low and volumes are not as high as they were used to, don't pump the brakes on recruiting, said Aaron Ketchum of Cowan Systems. Keep a steady flow of applicants and drivers coming through because once that freight comes back, everyone is going to be screaming for drivers. The competition is going to become fierce. I think that's a good point out there because I don't know if you guys remember, but back in, I think it was like 2021 or something, I can't remember the year, like some of the sign-on bonuses that companies were offering to get drivers were all like very, very high. I want to say like one was like 20 grand or something like that. So that's one thing to keep in mind, I guess. And then it goes on to say Rail Transportation's VP of Driver Employment, Tim Norland, said, we're still busy at Rail, but I have heard from some of my peers that many companies have cut their budgets and laid off as they don't need as many drivers. But we decided long ago, be ready when things turn around. I want to put this in here right now. There is a really good book I read earlier, listened to on audiobook. Let me see here. I'm going to give you guys the name of this because I really, really enjoyed this book. There we go. How to Hire A Players was the name of the book. And they gave some really good strategies in there to kind of talk about this, right? Because it's like, as a lot of companies are laying people off, or they're assessing what their head count might look like this year or the next 20. They give a lot of good strategies in there. And I've personally implemented some of those strategies at Freight Coach Logistics because I truly, truly believe in it. And I'm not going to talk about the entirety of the book in there, but check out How to Hire A Players. Brent Orsuga shared that book to me earlier this year. And then I'm going to kind of skip around here, you guys. Van drivers are still the highest paid drivers in the industry, averaging $1,815 per week or $94,000 annually, One of the most important things is making good first impressions on the driver. The worst thing a company can do is invest all of that money to bring a driver in, put them in a truck right out of orientation, and then they go to start the truck and it's dead. A tire's flat, check engine light is on. There are fast food wrappers inside from the previous drivers. And then it goes on to say that drivers want to be home. They don't want to give up money, and fleets are winning now, are figuring out ways to make it work, whether it's home once a week or home multiple times a week. Um, so it's funny is it's like you'd think that that would be like common practice out there, right? Like have the truck ready, you would like have it detailed, have it cleaned out, have it serviced, have everything. Like I mean, I think that that's pretty much common sense, but apparently common sense isn't so common out there. And another thing I want to talk about, um, is I like, and I brought this up last week or so, like the amount of trucking companies that I know that have implemented a driver salary program and how that has improved their business overall by salarying their drivers. And it's not, it's from a vehicle maintenance perspective. It's from an overall perspective that it has changed their entire company for the better by putting their drivers on a salary out there, because then they don't have to worry about a bunch of stuff. But that, talking about recruiting in the industry, and it's always funny, right? Because it's like there's going to be, you can look at some of the overarching headlines of, oh, there's a driver shortage. Oh, wait, there isn't a driver shortage. People are hiring, people are not hiring. I don't know. I don't subscribe to the fact that there's a driver shortage at all. I think the biggest issue facing the driver community out there is it's a massive retention issue. It's a massive retention issue that's out there. And that can only be solved by the individual companies. Like there's no policy that's going to be implemented, and we don't want that to happen anyways. But I know some companies out there that have zero problem retaining drivers. And maybe that's where you look, right? See what somebody is doing right, talk to them and see what you can improve your industry or your company on, because a lot of people out there think they're not doing anything wrong. And the biggest thing is this is the way we've always done things. I think that's the biggest failure of any business out there, is when they're not looking to innovate or change their ways. Freight State Logistics says, good morning, coach. Keep up the good work informing us. And shiny object syndrome, it's always an issue. Amen to that. That's going to be it for today, you guys. We'll be back tomorrow. I might have a guest on tomorrow. I'm just waiting to kind of figure out some scheduling things here for this week. But otherwise, we'll be breaking down some articles as always. And we'll be releasing a brand new episode of the podcast tomorrow. But yeah, you guys, as always, if you guys get value in what you hear, subscribe to the show, you guys. Share it out there to your network. Because at the end of the day, this is how we grow. But most importantly, this is how we can help more people, is because if you saw value, your network's going to see value as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.